Now tuned into the show where you learn the discipline to show up day after day to do the work, the confidence to put yourself out there boldly and authentically, and the mental toughness to continue showing up, doing the work, putting yourself out there even when the success you've expected to achieve is yet to be achieved. And on top of all this, you get a huge dose of personal initiative. This is the go-getter energy that moves anyone out there, including you, to go and make things happen, especially you rather, to go and make things happen instead of waiting for things to happen. You know that energy, you know what I'm talking about. And we put all this together in one bundle, one method, one mindset, one philosophy. There's a book on this subject by the exact same name. This audio experience, this masterclass you're listening to right now, it is called Work on Your Game. Google it. My name is Dre Baldwin, also known as Dre All Day. Welcome to the show. Today's topic is keep the power in your own hands. I think everybody in life wants power. Power is your ability to have some effect on circumstances, some effect on what's going on, to have some say over what happens in your own life. Do you want that? Is that something that you want? Of course you want that. You want some say over your circumstances. You want some sway over what you're going to eat today, or what time you get home from work, or what time you need to wake up in the morning, or what you need to do for yourself. You rather decide what you need to do for yourself rather than have somebody tell you what you need to do for yourself, right? Everybody wants to be in a position of power, at least when it comes to what we're doing with our own lives. You may not necessarily want power over other people, but you want to have some power over yourself, right? So today's masterclass is about keeping that power in your own hands, because often in life we are giving away our power. We're not even aware that we're giving away our power. But I'm going to help you understand how you may be giving away your power and how to make sure you keep control over the power that you have over yourself here in life. Now, I've talked about power many times in this show before. I'm going to refer you to a few masterclasses that you can brush up on or refer back to if you heard them before, or if you haven't, make sure you check these. Masterclass number 1259, self-determinism, your measure of personal power. How much self-determinism do you have for yourself and what you're going to achieve in life? Masterclass 1244, proximity is power. Masterclass 1191, your power, do not give it all away. Masterclass 1151, your greatest power is your willingness to walk away. And 1069, the power of human will. And 946, the power of the mind and spirit over matter. 911, I talked about the power of self-discipline. And 860, the power of repetition. And I'm not even going to list all these because there's too many of them, but I'll talk about power many times here on the show. As you can see, if you're a game group member, then I have a list of every masterclass that we have ever put out here, all in one list. All you got to do is go to that, use the search function in your browser, type in the word power, and you can see all those for yourself. You don't need me to read them to you. But the person came to me, the reason why I'm talking about this subject here today, or one reason why this subject came to mind, is the person came to me not too long ago, and they were asking me about one of my courses, the Bulletproof Mindset course, which is my flagship course, where I take all the best mindset material that I have accumulated over the years, and I put it into one course, one framework that takes you from point A to point Z when it comes to mastering your mentality, the discipline, the confidence, and the mental toughness. And someone was interested in the course apparently, and they asked me, Dre, do you have a discount code for the Bulletproof Mindset course? And someone else asked me, Dre, well, I see you have all these bonuses that come with the Bulletproof Mindset course. Do you have a version of the course that comes without the bonuses? Because I suppose that they were thinking, their flawed logic was thinking that if you take the bonuses away, then that means the price would go down, which doesn't make any sense. They obviously didn't understand it, or maybe I did a poor job of communicating. But the bonuses are bonuses. You're not paying for the bonuses. You're paying for the course. The bonuses are free additions that you get because you're getting the course. So if I take the bonuses away, the course will still cost the same amount. You just don't get the extras. But anyway, I didn't even explain it to that person because they were asking me a question that I don't even want to address. I've talked about price and sales and money many times here on the show. If you didn't hear me talk about that, I suggest you go listen to those episodes so you understand why I felt no need to even respond to these people asking me these questions. Apparently, these individuals, as I continue the story, apparently they did not have the money to pay the full amount what it costs to get access to the course, which is fine because sometimes in life you just don't have the resources that you need to get the things that you want. Sometimes it happens to all of us, and when it comes to different resources at different periods of life, that's cool. But the key factor when we realize that there's something that we want, yet we don't have the resources. I want to get into this room, yet I don't know anybody in that room, therefore I'm not invited. or I want to buy this product, but I don't have the money. I can't afford it right now. Therefore, I can't buy the product. Or I want to spend more time with this person, but I don't have time to give to this person right now. Therefore, I can't invest time in this relationship. Or I want to do this thing, and that thing, but I don't have the energy right now. Therefore, I can't do these things. All of us at times in life come across situations where it's something that we want or want to do or want to have, yet we do not have the resources to acquire them. Our most important resources: time, money, attention, energy, focus. Sometimes we're short on one of those resources, maybe multiple resources. The key factor is not whether or not you are short on a resource. The key factor is what you do once you realize you are short of a resource. And that's what we're talking about here today. Keeping the power in your own hands. Even though you may not have the resource, that does not mean that you don't have the power to do something. I should emphasize the word something better. So let's get into our points here today so you understand exactly what I mean and why I'm using this example of someone not being able to afford a product or a service and then asking a very disempowering question that's not going to do anything to help them in the long run, which is why I didn't even respond to them when they asked me this question. But if you are happen to be the person who asked that question, you could take this masterclass as that answer with a ton of context. Point number one. Today's topic, once again, is keep the power in your own hands. Point number one, to maintain power in life, one of the most important things you must do is ask yourself better questions. If you want to have power in life, you must ask yourself better questions. Understand that key word there, better questions. That is relative. It is relative to the type of questions that you have been asking yourself to know what is a better question to ask yourself. So I may ask a question that for you would be a terrible question because it'd be a step backwards. But for me, it's a step up. It's a better question. So what is a better question for you to be asking yourself? And I can help you out with this a lot because I wrote a book by this exact title called Ask Yourself a Better Question. You can get that by going to workonmygame.com/ask, A-S-K. Ask Yourself a Better Question is the title of that book. But let me give you an easy tip for how to ask yourself a better question. Usually, when you're asking yourself a better quality question than the question that you have been asking yourself, the better question usually begins with one of the following words: who, what, when, where, why, how, if. Let me give you that list again, just in case you want to write it down. A better question usually starts with one of the following words: who, what, when, where, why, how, if. Questions that begin with these words are what we call open-ended questions. And open-ended questions lead to thinking, explanation, and they open you up to possibility. Think about it. Let's just use a couple example questions. Who is the best person to help me achieve this outcome? That question is an open-ended question because the answer could be literally any name, any person you could think of is the answer to that question. Could be the answer to that question. It leads to you thinking, right? Who? Now you got to think of a person or an explanation or a possibility. You're opening yourself up to possibilities. Who's the person who could help me with this? You're opening yourself up to the possibility of any human being you could think of. Answer that question. What is the best way for me to go about this situation? Now this is the second word. What? Thought. You got to think about it. You have to come up with some type of explanation, and you're opening yourself to possibilities. When can I get this done? Where is the best place for me to go to achieve this specific outcome? Why do I want to achieve this thing? How could I get this done if I absolutely had to get it done within the next 48 hours? If I was to get this done in the next 48 hours, who would help me do it? When would they help me? And where are they at? Notice how I just combined them all in that last one. But I use all of those words. Who, what, when, where, why, how, if. These are open-ended questions. Usually start with these words. And they lead to thinking. They lead to you trying to figure out and explain something. And they open you up to possibility. Now you compare those questions to the closed questions that produce only yes or no answers. A closed question produces a yes or no answer. Such as, hey Dre, do you have a code for me to get a discount off of this product? I can either say yes or I can say no. If I say no, then you have no other options. You have no other possibilities. I just close the door on you. Because you asked me a closed-ended question, you set me up to close the door on you. And the game's over for you. Instead of saying, Dre, do you have a discount code for your course because I don't have the money? Instead, if you said something like, who might lend me the money so I can get this course? What do I need to do to get access to this course even though I don't have money? When would I be able to afford it? Where can I go to make enough money that I can pay for this? Why do I actually want this course? How can I get access to it other than using money? If I was to get this course from you with some way other than money, Dre, what could I do to make this happen for you? Make this happen for me. All of those are open-ended questions that could open everything up to possibility, open things up to conversation, and give you a chance to win. You got to give yourself chances to win in life, ladies and gentlemen. You ask yourself closed-ended questions, yes or no questions. You're giving yourself one chance to win. The only chance you have is that that person says yes. But if they say no, now you have just completely ended the game on yourself. Any of you have been to an arcade or played a video game, and when you die, you don't have any more lives left? What does the screen say? It says game over. You're done. Because you gave yourself a closed-ended question. If you give yourself an open-ended question, you always keep the possibility loop open. You ask, who can do this job for my business so that I don't have to do it myself? If there's a certain job that you need to get done, but you don't want to do it. If you said, hey, I don't have the money for this, but what can I offer this person since I don't have money? When, where, why, how, if. Instead of saying I can't, instead of saying I don't, or instead of asking an open, not an open, but a closed question, a yes or no question that only gives two possibilities, and if you don't get the possibility that you wanted, you basically shut yourself out of the game. Start asking yourself better questions. How you ask yourself better questions? First of all, get my book called Ask Yourself a Better Question at workonmygame.com/ask. And the other thing that you need to do is start asking yourself open-ended questions that begin with these W's. Who, what, when, where, why. Those are the 5 W's. And then you can add in the how and the if. Open-ended questions. Open your mind to thinking, explaining, and possibilities. Point number 2. Today's topic is keep the power in your own hands. Understand that closed questions and closed statements, they shut off the thought process. Because if you ask someone, hey, do you have a discount code for your product because I can't afford it? You don't have to think anymore. All right, you already asked the question. The answer is either going to be yes, they do, and you get the discount, or no, they don't, and the game is pretty much over. But you don't have to do any thinking no matter what they answer. And that's the challenge. All right, you don't want to put yourself in a position where you don't have to do any more thinking, because if you're not thinking, that means you're putting all the power in the hands of the other person. They get to do the thinking. They got to do the work for you. They're probably not going to give you what you want. They're going to give you what they want, or set you up to do what they want, which is probably not what you want. They probably don't go hand in hand. But you set them up for this because you asked a closed question or used a closed statement that closed off your personal thought process. And what happens when you close off your own thought process is you hand your power over to externalities. And externalities are anything other than you, the things that you completely control. And another person is an externality. A situation that you don't fully control is an externality. Circumstances are externality. You don't control any of those things. You don't want to hand your power over to an externality that you don't have control over. But a lot of people do this not because they're trying to hand over their power, simply because they're not aware of what I just explained to you in point number 1, which is that you got to stop asking yourself closed questions that close off all your possibilities of achieving. If you don't have the money for something, and you just say, hey, I don't have the money, well, there's nothing else that you can do. If you ask for a discount and the person says no, then you don't have any other options for yourself. If you plan a picnic for outside, but it's raining outside that particular day, is the game pretty much over? Well, it is if you say, well, I'm either going to have a picnic outside or it's going to rain, I'm going to cancel the picnic. The game's pretty much over. In all 3 of those situations, you ask for a discount, you don't have the money, and nothing else you can do. You plan a picnic, but it's raining. But if instead you use who, what, when, where, why, how, and if, see how you can change these. If instead you ask better open-ended questions, notice that those questions I just told you, those closed-ended questions, they were using the same words that I've just given you, but it also matters how you use them. I said these who, what, when, where, why, how, and if questions usually start open-ended questions, but there's also the way that you structure the rest of the words in that sentence, because we know sentences and questions can go in a lot of different directions. In my book, Ask Yourself a Better Question, and also my 25 conversation starters, which you can get both at workonmygame.com/ask and /25 respectively. I tell you how to structure those questions in ways that give you open your mind to thinking, explanation, and possibility. So if instead of saying where are you from, instead of saying how old are you, instead of saying what do you do, you could say, hey, if you were not doing what you do for a living right now, what else would you be doing? You notice how that opens that person up to a world of possibilities in a way that they can answer the question. Now, who knows how they're going to answer it, but you're opening yourself up to the possibilities. Instead of saying, how old are you? I mean, you may eventually want to know the answer to that question, but you could say something like, how do you do what you do? How does it even work? Now somebody has to explain it. When I tell somebody, hey, I play basketball overseas, well, how does it even work? Or I wrote a book, or how were you able to do that? How does it work? How long did it take? People start asking questions that open things up to conversation, open things up to possibility, open people up to dialogue, whether that be internal dialogue, meaning you asking yourself a better question, or interpersonal dialogue, someone asking you a better question, or vice versa, you asking another person a better question. You open things up to possibilities. So keep yourself away from the closed questions because they take the power away. Even when you're talking to another person, the more you can get another person to talk, that means the more you can learn about that person. That gives you more power because now you have more information. Now you know more about that person. Now you can help that person in more ways because you just know more about what's going on. You know more about what's in their head, and you build a stronger relationship because the more a person talks to you, the confirmation bias kicks in. Damn, I'm spending so much time talking to this person. I've told this person so much. I've opened myself up to this person so much based on the questions that you ask. That person feels more connected to you. Now you have more of a rapport, and you'll probably be able to get more things done with and through and in conjunction with that individual simply because you have more conversation because of your ability and your use of the skill of asking better questions, asking open-ended questions. So if you ask for a discount at a business and a person says no, you don't have any other options. You ask a closed question, you got a closed answer, the game's over. If you don't have money and there's nothing else that you can do, then you already closed the question, you closed the loop yourself because you didn't ask yourself a better question. You plan a picnic, but it's raining outside. Well, the game's over because you said, well, I'm either going to have it today, or if it rains, I'm not having it at all. The game is pretty much over. So you got to be able to ask yourself better questions and learn how to use these better questions as a habit, not as something you got to think about or you got to refer to the book every time. You learn to start doing this as a habit, which is why I lay out the better questions you can ask yourself and the framework of it in that book, the way that I do and the way I'm explaining it to you here today. Who, what, when, where, why, and how. These questions when the question is asked, it should open the question receiver up to possibilities of different things they can do based on the situation. Who could help me with this? Could be plenty of answers. What can I do? Where can I go? Why is this happening the way that it's happening? How can I do things differently? If I was to do things this way, what options do I have? These are all open-ended questions that give you more possibilities. If your question is not opening you up to possibilities, it is not an open-ended question. You got to ask yourself a better question. And that's why, again, you should get that book so you know what a better question looks and sounds like. Point number 3. Today's topic is keep the power in your own hands. The human brain is the most powerful tool known to man, ladies and gentlemen. No smartphone or laptop can do what your brain can do. And those devices, at the same time, they are not nearly as fast in processing power as the human brain is. And I don't think in our lifetimes there will be any microchip made that can process as quickly as a human brain can. Now, the computers and the phones, they can process certain things maybe better, it seems, than the human brain can. But there's certain things the human brain can do that no computer chip is going to be able to do, at least not in the time that all of us are allowed to see it happening. However, when we ask ourselves bad, disempowering questions, what we do is neglect to use our most powerful tool, which is our brains. No wonder we are producing suboptimal results. So if you feel like you're not producing the type of results you want to produce in your life, it's probably because you're asking yourself bad questions. You're setting yourself up you're giving yourself a bad setup. Therefore, it's hard to close a good deal with a bad setup. It's hard to make good amounts of sales with a bunch of bad leads, right? Thinking is automatic, ladies and gentlemen, but let me tell you how you can make your thinking even better, even though it's automatic, is the way that you activate your powerful tool. And that is through changing the habitual questions that you ask yourself. When you ask yourself different questions, you're going to get different answers. You ask yourself better questions, you're going to get better answers. This is the way that the Q&A, the ongoing Q&A known as thinking, this is the way that it works. We ask ourselves a question, we answer that question. We ask another question, we answer that question. There's a continual Q&A going on in your mind, back and forth question and answer session known as thinking. When you change the quality of the question, you change the quality of the answer. And when the quality of your answers changes, the quality of your actions change. And when your actions change, we all know what happens next. You get different results. You get different results for a long enough period of time. It becomes a habit. It becomes your character. It becomes your virtue. It becomes what people know you for. And a whole lot of great benefits can come out of that. But you have to start the cycle by asking yourself a higher quality question. And again, the book is Ask Yourself a Better Question so you can get a better quality conversation going on in your mind, which means you're going to take better actions, produce better results. You're going to be happier, more productive, and more successful in your own life. So if you're looking for that outcome, then I suggest you go to workonmygame.com/ask and get that book, Ask Yourself a Better Question. Let's recap today's topic, which is keep the power in your own hands. Person came to me asking if I had a discount code for something, or I had a version without the bonuses so they could save money. Apparently they didn't have the money to pay the full amount for a product that I was offering, which is completely fine, because we all have times in life we don't have a certain resource or enough of a resource to get what we want. But the key factor is, once we realize we don't have enough of a resource, what do we do with that information? Do we just sit on our hands and say, well, I don't have enough resources, so forget it? Or do we get active, mentally active, and start utilizing our power, which is what I'm talking about here today. I'll tell you how to do it. Number one, to maintain power, start asking yourself a better question. The easy tip for doing this is better questions usually begin with who, what, when, where, why, how, and if. Questions that start with these words are open-ended usually, and they lead to thinking, explanation, and possibility. Compare them to closed questions that produce yes or no answers, such as, hey, do you have a discount code for this? Or can I do anything different besides what I'm doing right now? Those are yes or no questions. Instead, if you ask, who might help me with this? Who can do this job for my business so I don't have to do it? What can I offer this person if I don't have money? When, where, why, how, if. Instead of saying I can't or I don't, or just shutting yourself off to any possibilities, open yourself to possibilities by asking yourself the questions that start with these 5 W's, also the H and the I. Who, what, when, where, why, how, and if. Point number 2. Excuse me. Closed questions and statements end the thought process, and they often hand your power over to externalities such as other people, situations, and circumstances, none of which do you control. Ask for a discount. Somebody might say no. Now you have nothing else. If you don't have the money, there's nothing else you can do. But if you ask those questions that start with the who, what, when, where, why, how, and if, you will start to see possibility. If you don't see possibilities based on the questions that you're asking yourself or others, it's because they're not open-ended questions. You need to go back to the drawing board and come up with some better questions. Point number 3, the human brain is the most powerful tool known to man. No smartphone or laptop or chip processor can do what the human brain can do, and those devices are not nearly as fast in processing power as the brain is, even though it may not seem like it all the time, depending on how much you use your smartphone. However, when we ask ourselves bad, disempowering questions, we neglect to use our most powerful tool, which is our minds, and then it is no wonder that we are producing suboptimal results. Remember that thinking is automatic, ladies and gentlemen, but the way that you make your thinking better is by activating your most powerful tool and changing the habitual questions that you ask of yourself. So when you get that book, Ask Yourself a Better Question, it will allow you to up your level of thinking and up the type of conversation that you have, not only with others, but the conversation you have with yourself, which means you're going to get better answers, take better actions, and you're going to get better results. I guarantee if you follow that framework, you will get that outcome. Go get that book at workonmygame.com/ask and work on your game. Dre Baldwin.